Arcadian Vanguard presents The Wrestling News in your daily wrestling newscast for Thursday, July 25th, 2024. Good morning, I'm Mike Sempervive. We begin today with AEW Dynamite broadcast live last night on TBS from the Bridgestone Arena in Nashville. In the Blood and Guts main event cage match, Team AEW, composed of Darby Allin, Mark Briscoe, the Acclaimed, and AEW World Champion Swerve Strickland, defeated Team Elite, composed of the Young Bucks, Jack Perry, Kazuchika Okada, and Hangman Adam Page. Strickland was handcuffed to the cage by the Elite to prevent him from entering, but was set free by Billy Gunn and Jeff Jarrett.
Billy Gunn and Jeff Jarrett, they got a key! They got the key, and they're coming to the aid of Team AEW, Jeff Jarrett and Billy Gunn uniting to do the right thing here.
In the opening segment, MJF trashed his AEW International Championship belt, unveiling a new belt and announcing that he was now the AEW American Champion. MJF was then chased off by Will Ospreay, who revealed that he'd secured a rematch with MJF for the title at All In.
Max, Sunday, August 25th, you and me for the International Championship at All In.
I can agree to that. Well, that's massive right there. Massive news. A blockbuster announcement from the International Champion, Will Ospreay. Wembley Stadium. MJF, Ospreay, Part 2.
The show saw the debut of former NWA World Women's Champion Camille, who appeared as Mercedes Moné's new bodyguard, taking out Britt Baker following Baker's victory over Hikaru Shida by submission. Chris Jericho beat Minoru Suzuki to retain the FTW title. Suzuki piledrove Jericho after the match and was jumped by Big Bill and Brian Keith until a returning Katsuyori Shibata made the save. In other results, Mariah May beat Caitlin Alexis and was attacked by Toni Storm after the match. Willow Nightingale was attacked by Chris Statlander during a backstage interview, and Pac pinned Boulder of the Iron Savages. In ratings news, NXT drew 633,000 viewers to USA this week, according to WrestleNomics. That's a small increase from last week's audience of 610,000. The rating in the 18 to 49-year-old demographic was a .19, slightly down from last week's demo rating of .20. In WWE news, the company will be holding its first tryout camp open to the public, according to an announcement yesterday from Shawn Michaels. The camp is scheduled for Friday, August 2nd in Cleveland, the day before SummerSlam in the same city. And in some unfortunate news, yesterday saw the passing at age 76 of Canadian wrestler and coach Léonce Cormier, best known in the ring as Leo Burke, the last surviving member of the Wrestling Cormier brothers. The news was announced yesterday afternoon on social media by Cormier's niece. In the early 1990s, Burke was recruited as a trainer to the WWF by Bret Hart, his previous tag team partner and rival in Stampede Wrestling. He was responsible for working with such future WWE stars as Test, Mark Henry, Ken Shamrock, Edge, and Christian. Burke also later worked in a similar capacity for WCW. Breaking into the business in 1966 in the Central States and St. Louis territories under the name of Tommy Martin, he would also spend much of the 1970s wrestling in the Maritimes and Amarillo territories before settling in Calgary for a lengthy run at the end of the decade. He also attained success working for Maple Leaf Wrestling in Toronto, as well as in New Zealand, and finally in Puerto Rico for the WWC before finishing up his in-ring career at the start of the 1990s. Among the dozens of regional titles he held during his career were the Central States Heavyweight title, Atlantic Grand Prix US Heavyweight title, Maritimes Heavyweight title, British Commonwealth Heavyweight title, Stampede North American title, and the WWC Universal Heavyweight title. Leo Burke was honored by the Cauliflower Alley Club along with the whole Cormier family in 2009. He was inducted into the Stampede Hall of Fame in 1995 and the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame in 2021. Cormier was predeceased by his three wrestling brothers, Yvon Cormier, aka The Beast, Jean-Louis Cormier, aka Rudy K., and Romeo Cormier, aka Bobby K. Once again, Léonce Cormier, better known as Leo Burke, has passed away at the age of 76 years old. And before we leave you today, we'd like to remind you that however you consume your content, you can find the wrestling news 24 hours a day and 7 days a week across social media. On Twitter, follow us at Wrestling News AV. Our Facebook page is also Wrestling News AV. The Wrestling News can also be found on the Arcadian Vanguard YouTube page. And for those who utilize Amazon Echo devices, just tell Alexa to play the Wrestling News podcast. And remember to make sure you add podcast at the end. Once again, for daily updates, breaking news, and more, follow the Wrestling News across social media. And that's the news for today. If anything happens, we will be here to tell you about it. No clickbait, no paywall, just the Wrestling News. The Wrestling News is a division of Arcadian Vanguard, and the Wrestling Newscast is a production of the Arcadian Vanguard Podcast Network.